Grocery stores are secretly engineered to make you overspend. One study found slow background music alone increases how much shoppers spend by nearly 40%. Nobody warns you because the tactics are designed to feel like your own idea. Here are 10 real tactics grocery stores use to make you spend more without realizing it. Entry number 1, the back of store placement trick. This is the deliberate placement of milk, eggs, and bread at the very back of the store, forcing you to walk past everything else to reach them. Retail design research published in the Journal of Marketing Research has documented this layout strategy across major grocery chains for decades. Most shoppers assume the layout is just about efficient storage. You'd assume a store would put its most popular items near the entrance to save you time. Grocery stores do the exact opposite on purpose. Every extra aisle you walk past is another chance to see a product you weren't planning to buy. Placing essentials at the back guarantees you cross the entire store before you ever reach your original list. But here's the catch. Store layout researchers estimate this single design choice adds a meaningful percentage to the average shopping trip, just from unplanned pickups along the way. The walk to the milk aisle was never really about the milk. The shortest path to what you need was never on offer. Only the longest one was. That's a store layout. The next tactic works directly on how your brain compares prices. Entry number 2, decoy pricing. This is a pricing strategy where a store adds a third, intentionally unattractive option specifically to make the middle option look like the smart choice. This effect has been studied extensively in behavioral economics, including research by Duke University's Dan Ariely, showing it can shift buyer preference by a wide margin. Most shoppers never notice the decoy is there on purpose. You'd assume comparing 3 prices helps you make a rational decision. In these cases, one of the 3 prices exists purely to manipulate the other 2. When a shopper sees a small size, a medium size priced almost the same as the large, and a large size, the medium size exists only to make the large size look like an obvious deal. Remove the decoy, and buyer preference shifts significantly. But here's where it gets complicated. This tactic works even when shoppers are told about it in advance, according to Ariely's own research. Simply knowing the trick exists doesn't stop the brain from falling for it. The worst option on the shelf wasn't a mistake. It was doing exactly the job it was placed there to do. If that one surprised you, the next tactic doesn't touch the price tag at all. It changes how fast you walk. Entry number 3, slow music. This is the deliberate use of slow-tempo background music throughout grocery stores to change the pace at which customers shop. A landmark study published in the Journal of Marketing Research found slow music increased average spending by nearly 40% compared to fast music in the same store. Most shoppers never consciously notice the tempo at all. You'd assume background music is just there for atmosphere, chosen for taste rather than strategy. The tempo itself turns out to be a lever. Slow music unconsciously slows your walking pace, and a slower pace means more time spent in each aisle, more products seen, and more opportunities for impulse purchases. Fast music does the opposite, moving shoppers through quickly with less browsing. But here's the catch. Some retailers adjust music tempo by time of day, slowing it down during typically slower hours, specifically to stretch out browsing time when the store has room for more customers to linger. The soundtrack was never neutral. Your feet weren't just walking to a song. They were walking on the store's schedule. That tactic works on your ears. The next one works directly on your stomach. Entry number 4, the bakery smell trick. This is the practice of pumping artificial or amplified baking smells through grocery store ventilation, even in stores without an active in-house bakery. Sensory marketing research published in the Journal of Consumer Research has documented ambient scent significantly increasing impulse food purchases. Most shoppers assume the smell simply means fresh bread is nearby. You'd expect the smell of fresh bread to mean there's fresh bread being made right now. In some stores, the smell is engineered independently of what's actually baking. Food smells trigger a physical hunger response even in someone who isn't hungry, and a hungry brain makes faster, less deliberate purchasing decisions. Retailers have found scent alone can increase spending across the entire store, not just in the bakery section. But here's where it gets complicated. Some stores have been found using scent diffusers positioned specifically near high-margin impulse items, not just around the bakery counter, meaning the smell of bread might be steering you toward a snack aisle nowhere near any oven. The smell was never really about the bread. It was about making you hungry in the right aisle. That tactic targets adults directly. The next one is built specifically for children. Entry number 5, checkout candy placement. This is the deliberate placement of candy and sugary snacks on shelves positioned at the exact eye level of a child sitting in a shopping cart. Retail layout studies, including research summarized in Paco Underhill's consumer behavior research, have documented candy shelf height calibrated specifically to a seated toddler's sightline, particularly near checkout lanes. Most parents assume the candy near the register is just convenient impulse stock. You'd assume checkout candy placement is random, just whatever fits near the register. The shelf height tells a more deliberate story. A child seated in a cart has a fixed, low sightline, and candy placed at that exact height guarantees visibility and requests before a parent even reaches the register. The resulting pleading is a predictable engineered outcome, not a coincidence. But here's the catch. This tactic is specifically concentrated at checkout lanes, where parents are least able to avoid the aisle entirely and most likely to give in just to keep the line moving. The candy aisle isn't hidden from children, it's aimed at them. The tantrum wasn't bad luck. It was the shelf working exactly as designed. That's a tactic aimed at your child. The next one is aimed at how big your cart feels. Entry number 6, growing cart sizes. This is the steady, decades-long increase in the physical size of standard grocery shopping carts. Retail historians and behavioral researchers, including work referenced by Cornell University's Food and Brand Lab, have documented shopping cart capacity roughly doubling since the 1970s. Most shoppers have never compared cart sizes across decades. You'd assume a shopping cart is just a container, sized for convenience and nothing else. Its size turns out to be a psychological tool. A half-full large cart looks emptier than a full small cart, even holding the exact same groceries, and that visual gap unconsciously nudges shoppers to keep adding items until the cart looks appropriately full. Bigger carts create the illusion of restraint even during overspending. But here's where it gets complicated. Some retail experiments that swapped in larger carts recorded measurable increases in average purchase size, with no other change to the store at all. The cart was quietly doing marketing work the entire time you pushed it. You weren't filling the cart. The cart's size was filling your total. What comes next is the tactic researchers say works even on shoppers who consider themselves careful budgeters. Entry number 7, anchor pricing. This is the practice of placing a premium, expensive product directly next to a regular product, specifically to make the regular product's price feel like a bargain. This is a documented principle in pricing psychology research, sometimes called anchoring, studied extensively in behavioral economics literature, including work by Kahneman. Most shoppers believe they're comparing prices objectively. You'd assume seeing a cheaper option next to an expensive one simply helps you find the better deal. The expensive option is often placed there specifically to change how cheap the other one feels. The first price a shopper sees becomes a mental anchor, and every price seen afterward gets judged relative to that anchor rather than on its own merit. A regular product can feel like a steal simply because a pricier one was placed beside it moments earlier. But here's the catch. Retailers have been found deliberately keeping a small stock of premium items specifically to serve as a price anchor, with little expectation that many customers will actually buy the premium version at all. Its real job was making everything beside it look cheaper. That expensive item on the shelf wasn't there to be sold, it was there to be seen. That tactic changes how a price feels. The next one changes how fresh your food looks. Entry number 8, produce lighting and temperature. This is the precise control of lighting, color, and air temperature specifically in the produce section of grocery stores. Retail environment studies, including research published in the Journal of Retailing, have documented cool-toned lighting and lower ambient temperature increasing perceived freshness of produce, independent of the produce's actual condition. Most shoppers assume the chill in that aisle is purely for food safety. You'd assume produce section lighting exists purely to help you see the food clearly. The specific color temperature chosen does something more calculated than that. Cool-toned lighting makes fruits and vegetables appear more vivid and fresher than they actually are, and the lower air temperature reinforces a subconscious sense of just harvested quality. Neither change affects the produce itself, only how it's perceived. But here's where it gets complicated. Some retail design consultants have specifically recommended calibrated lighting temperature as a direct sales lever for produce departments, treating it the same way a photographer treats studio lighting for a product shoot. The vegetables were staged before you ever picked one up. The tomato wasn't fresher under that light. It only looked that way. That tactic changes how food looks. The next one uses the color of a sign to change how good a deal feels. Entry number 9, the end cap illusion. This is the practice of displaying products at the end of an aisle, called an end cap, in a way that implies a discount even when the price hasn't actually changed. Consumer research, including studies referenced in retail marketing journals, has found end cap placement alone can increase a product's sales significantly without any real price change. Most shoppers assume an end cap automatically means a sale. You'd assume a product displayed prominently at the end of an aisle, often with bold signage, must be discounted. In many documented cases, the price is completely unchanged from its regular shelf position. The visual language of an end cap, with bold colors, large signage, and a sense of urgency, closely mimics the visual language of an actual sale, so shoppers' brains treat it the same way and feel the same impulse to grab it before it's gone. But here's the catch. Some retailers have been documented moving full-price items to end cap display specifically because the position alone reliably increases sales, regardless of whether a discount exists. The urgency was manufactured entirely by the shelf's location. It was never a deal. It was just a different shelf, doing a very convincing impression of one. If that one surprised you, the final tactic is the one that shapes almost every choice you make in the store without you ever noticing it happening. Entry number 10, choice architecture. This is the deliberate limiting and arranging of product choices, called choice architecture, to guide shoppers toward specific products without ever restricting their freedom to choose. This principle has been extensively documented in behavioral economics research, most notably in work by Cass Sunstein and Richard Thaler, whose research on choice architecture influenced retail design worldwide. Most shoppers believe they're browsing an open, neutral selection. You'd assume a store shelf simply displays every option a brand offers, in no particular order. The actual arrangement is calculated down to eye level, shelf width, and product order. Products placed at eye level, given more shelf space, or positioned first in a row consistently outsell identical products placed elsewhere, even when price and quality are exactly the same. The store isn't removing your choices. It's just making some choices dramatically easier to make than others. But here's where it gets complicated. Retailers often accept payment from brands specifically for premium shelf positioning, meaning the products easiest for you to reach aren't necessarily the best value. They're simply the ones that paid the most to be seen first. Every aisle is a quiet negotiation you were never part of. You always felt like you were choosing freely. The shelf had already chosen for you. Every one of these tactics proves the same thing. Walking into a grocery store was never as simple as picking up what you needed. It was always a negotiation you didn't know you were having. Which tactic bothers you more? A store engineering the smell of bread to make you hungry, or a cart engineered to make your basket look emptier than it really is?